Top countries of STEM numbers by graduates. China, 3.57 million. India, 2.55. We're third place, 820. Now go to the one above it that shows percentage-wise. Above it, Rob. Above it, yeah. Look at this here. Percentage of graduates that are STEM. China, 41% of their graduates are in STEM. Russia's 37, Germany's 36, Iran's 33, India's 30% because of their IIT, France 26, Mexico 26. Look at us. And we want to compete? I mean, this is, and by the way, a part of this, to me, is like when you think about when Dallas Mavericks bring Dirk Nowitzki or Luka or Giannis or all these players that are coming from the European system here, and Kobe would always bash the AAU system in the States. And he came from the Italian, he played, he learned how to play basketball, the fundamentals in Europe. Why do they translate from that league? It's results. So my only concern with this argument is, yes, keep the jobs in America. Yes, give the jobs to American graduates. Yes, make it competitive here. And if some of these guys are coming here that are the smartest people, why not keep them?
Okay, Patrick Bet David is about to crash out, and I'm going to crash out with you against Patrick Bet David on the Patrick Bet David podcast. It has to happen. He's comparing our country, the most unique country in the history of the planet. The only country in the history of the planet that was founded on the Declaration of Independence. The only planet in the history of the country, America. Patrick Bet David, this is why they want to come here. This is why the companies want to use them. That we're still on the H-1B visas. Stay with me, everybody. Patrick Bet David, this country is special. It's not the NBA. It's not some random sports team, bruh. It's not like you bring in a certain person, even if it's the top 1%. If you bring in a Dirk Nowitzki, he doesn't have any power or effect. He's not moderating for YouTube. He's not leading or having high profile positions in Perplexity AI and OpenAI and Tesla and SpaceX, really shaping the trajectory of our country. He's playing basketball. Patrick Bet David, what are you talking about? How could you even compare the two things? I'm going to crash out and tell you why. Even if you take the H-1B visa, if you look at it, how it's being abused, if you don't know, basically the gist of it is companies are using this as an open border policy for them to hire, Patels and whatever else from all over the country. And Patrick Bet David is trying to defend it. Let's get back to the clip, and I'm just gonna go in on him.
Why not recognize them? Why not respect the fact that they create jobs? One of the tweets, I said, our founding fathers, a guy responds back and says, those are not your founding fathers. Guy posts a picture of the Shah of Iran, says, that's your founding fathers. But that tells you what, a part of this, there's nationalists and there's white nationalists. White nationalists, Vinny, don't want people like us here.
I know.
They just don't. White nationalists are a very different model, and they can have that argument, but this got very ugly very quick.
Yeah. No, that's not the take, PBD, because my parents are immigrants. I was born here in America. My wife is white, and I don't have any problem with the white nationalists. So that's a you problem. And what they don't like about you is that you're here, but you don't respect them. That's the problem. JD Vance, you're here, but you call young Nick whatever name, white supremacist, whatever label you want to put on it. If you are here, they will disagree with your lifestyle. They'll disagree with you. Potentially some of them, there's a spectrum. But if you respect that this country was founded by a certain demographic group, and it will only be maintained and saved by a certain demographic group, take a look at the voting patterns. Take a look at the beliefs in this country. Who believes in the Bill of Rights? It's not these other groups. So we have to acknowledge that all of the groups are important. This group is the core group that makes this country unique. Let's get back to the clip.
No, you're spot on with the white nationalist thing. So
no, he's not.
What I'm concerned about is you made an amazing tweet because your prediction has basically come true. What they're doing to basically divide and conquer Trump versus Elon. That's what I'm focused on. Can you turn me up a little bit, guys? But
no, you don't need to be turned up. And yeah, they are trying to. So what? The argument is the argument. It's almost like they're trying to create a divorce or a wedge in a marriage. And one person cheated and they're reminding, hey, remember when that dude cheated on you? Well, yeah, they are trying to create a wedge. And yeah, did it happen? Yeah, it did.
It's sort of what you've seen the comments that are being made by Steve Bannon and Stephen Miller. They're sort of, it's,
What do you think about it?
so here's what I'm thinking.
Can I read the tweet so the audience
Yeah,
knows,
please
and then
do.
I'll go to
Please
you?
do.
So here's what Steve Bannon said. Steve Bannon said, let me be clear on H-1B. I want zero. The whole thing is about, they're only geniuses, H-1B visas. That's not what it's about. It's about making American jobs and bringing over essentially what have become indentured servants at lower wages. The thing's a scam by the oligarchs in Silicon Valley to basically take jobs from American citizens, give them to what become indentured servants from foreign countries and pay them less. Simple. That's what he said.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with what he said. This is Vinny. Got to remind you, this Vinny, and well, it's not Vinny there, but Vinny's on the show there. Patrick Bet David on the Patrick Bet David podcast, talking about Steve Bannon now. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with what Steve Bannon said at all. It's plain. We all know it's true. Patrick Bet David knows it's true. That argument is not even worth having. When they're abusing the program to just bring in all these randos for these jobs that are anywhere from, we've looked at the data, anywhere from 35,000. Most of them are higher paying, but there are a ton of companies bringing in people with lower to mid-range jobs, like $35,000 to $80,000, to do all kinds of random work that we know for a fact there's Americans with college debt that can do as entry-level positions for most of them. So we know that. That's not even worth arguing. If you believe in the H-1B visas for that, then I'm not even going to argue with you. I want to attack the 1% argument. I'm going to do that in a second here. Let's get back to Patrick Bet David on the Patrick Bet David podcast. Going right now, commenting on Steve Bannon.
And he does have a point right there. There is a point to basically what's happening with these guys with these H-1B visas. You said, you can pay them less versus an American.
Oh, yeah.
By the way,
abuse definitely happened.
By the way, I know people who basically outsource jobs and say, well, I can pay an American worker here $30 an hour. I can pay some guy in the Philippines or in India $4 an hour. So it works both ways. But what's happening with MAGA versus Musk, it's sort of like MAGA 1.0 versus MAGA 2.0. Who's MAGA 1.0? The guys that have been there 10 years versus the people that have been there basically 10 months. So you have the nationalists that you talked about right there. So you have the working class people, the America first, that want to put America first. They're sort of the populists. They're the protectionists. You might almost say isolationists. MAGA 2.0, the people that have basically been there for 10 months versus 10 years. These are honestly former liberals, some of them. They're tech people. A lot of them are billionaires. They're the elites. They're a different form of MAGA. So the interesting thing here is when you do politics, you want to have a big tent party. Hey, we need your votes. We need your votes. We need your votes. Okay, we got your votes. And now you're like, yeah, get the hell out of here. Hold on, I'm sorry. You don't want Elon Musk? You don't want Vivek? Elon Musk gave how much money to Trump? $200 billion? All of a sudden, he's the bad guy? So this conversation that's being had needs to happen, no doubt. By the way, Trump hasn't even assumed office yet. It's crazy because, they say that the way that you campaign is different than how you govern. When you campaign, you made broad, just sort of out there, outlandish commentary. Yeah. But when you govern, you actually have to do some nuanced debates. But as we always say, FTM, follow the money. Speaking of, you read a stat out there. What percentage of the H-1B visas are Indians?
75%.
Okay, so it's basically Indians.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about. So follow the money, GDP per capita. What's the GDP per capita in India? In India, they're number 120 in the world. The average Indian makes $8,400 a year. Okay, that's from 2023. Mm-hmm. So my stat says that's what it says, 2,400. I see 8,400. I don't fact check that. America, $76,000 a year, GDP per capita. Either way, if you're working in America, you're making so much more than you're going to make in India. And by the way, what do you think the people do when they make this money?
What you just said.
So
what's your point?
I was just about to say, what the hell is your point right now?
Are you saying,
even if you're suppressing their wages, which is not fun. Okay, there it is right there, 7,000. Even if you're suppressing their wages, they're making 10x what they'd be making in India. So they have a choices to make. They don't have to come here, right? But
this is not good, guys. This is not good. We are seeing some cracks exposed. Yeah, they are trying to drive a wedge, and it's working. And if there's a reason for the wedge. And this is a topic that should have been brought up before the election. I brought it up. I said the tent is getting too wide. And obviously, even with Patrick Bet David, I wasn't thinking about him being too wide, but this guy, I believe he's a tiny hat, funny hat. It's just too wide. So I am for MAGA 16, not MAGA 24. Let's keep it going.
There's also another thing.
Are you saying that because you're saying, you know, the opportunity to live in India is not as good as here, and that's why
It's
they're
not even close.
No, meaning. So
What does that have to do with America? Stay here. I'm going to give you my end take on why, if people say, well, we'll close up the loopholes. Tim Pool famously, recently on X said, yeah, that's the way to do it. Elon, Tim Pool, all these clowns, Vivek. Oh, we need to, that wasn't the original argument, remember? When the H-1B visas came up, the original argument wasn't just the 1%, it was just the H-1B visas. Then we saw, wait a second, they're abusing this. And then they went to, oh, we want reform. If you need to reform it so you get the top 1% talent, that's equally as bad to me. I'm going to end with telling you my take on why.
So Indians are going to school there, but they're wanting to come to America here. The dream for them is to come here.
Who doesn't want to come to America?
Yeah.
Who doesn't want to come to America? I love the analogy that you use, the restaurant analogy. How do you judge a good restaurant? How do you judge? How long is the wait? The wait to get in America, with the exception of the past couple of years with Joe Biden, open border Kamala Harris czar policies, has been what? What did you just say? Are we the number one country for immigration year in and year out? It's not even close.
Not even close.
It's not even close.
Yeah.
So where the hell else do you want to go? You want to move to China? I don't see anybody trying to get into China. I don't see anybody dying to get into Russia or North Korea or Iran. So America is the place, the land of opportunity. So this conversation, I think, does need to happen, because do we not want immigrants here? Do we not want the best and brightest? Where do we want them going? Want them going to our enemies? We want them here. But at the same time, I do agree with Vivek. Americans got to compete. I love the thing that you broke down about a year ago about why Indians are so successful. If you look at the most successful minorities, it's number 1 and number 2. And it's bing, 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 Indians and Jews, straight up. So why is that? What's going on in their culture? You did a whole breakdown about the family and divorce rates and what Indians do.
Why don't they become citizens like my parents? When they come here, my parents took the bus in the snow and worked their ass off, saved, we lived very humbly. I never had cable TV growing up. I was fine. Well, I guess you could argue maybe I'm not, but I'm relatively okay. Why don't they come here and become citizens legally? Yeah, I'm for legal immigration. Yeah, right now we need a moratorium to figure out what the hell's going on. But generally speaking, yeah, a little bit of legal immigration. Absolutely. Let's finish this off.
And how they're
Do
encouraging.
you know what their divorce rate is?
It's like 1%.
What are we talking about? I don't
It's
care.
ridiculous.
It's that their divorce rate is, on some data it shows 1, on some data it shows 6%. African Americans were the highest in the U.S. at 31%.
Wait a second. In the same clip, he dissed people who like the color white and call themselves of the country nationalists. He just dissed them. And then he said the ones that want low divorce rates are the same ones he just dissed. The Americans he just dissed earlier. There is so much wrong with this take here. It's unbelievable.
Hispanics were at 18.5%. Whites were at 15.1%.
Yeah.
But Indians are at 1 to 6% divorce rate. Is what they have. Yeah, it's some ridiculous number that they have.
You know how they say don't hate the player, hate the game? The Indians are playing the game. They're doing it.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to understand is the following. Here's what I'm trying to understand, Tom. And I want to bring this to you. I want to understand everybody's points. Like, for example, I want to understand Elon. Well, he said,
He came here on an H-1B visa.
Well,
did
that's
he
what I'm
not?
saying.
Yeah.
Where he says, the reason I'm in America, along with so many other critical people that built SpaceX and Tesla and hundreds of other companies, that America's strong because of H-1B. take a big step back and go F yourself. That's from
In
the
the face.
movie, what is
Tropic
it?
Thunder.
Tropic Thunder.
I will go to war on this
Yeah.
issue, the likes of which you cannot possibly
Wow.
comprehend. Okay.
That was a quote from, I think, Les Grossman.
Yeah.
Never go full
But,
retail.
but you know why he's saying that? I mean, he came here on one.
Yeah.
So to him, that's personal. That's a success story. Now, to somebody who was born here and they're white and they were raised in a certain way where they're white nationalist, okay, you view me as go back to Iran, deport Elon back to, what do you call it, South Africa. Deport Vivek back to India,
His
right?
parents.
And
He was born here.
you make those types of comments. All right, I don't think that's majority of America. I think that's less than 5%.
That is the far
of
right.
America. Yeah, that's the far right.
Ultra-nationalists.
And that's the far right. And the far left wants open borders and let everybody come in here. Let's legalize everyone. The far right wants, if you're not a white nationalist, get the hell out of here. The problem here is you as a consumer not knowing the position of the individual before they say it, and you think everyone is in that position. They're not. Not everyone's in that position. So this is why it's caused a little bit of confusion. I'm reading a book right now by Robert.
What a terrible segment. This is one of the worst segments I've ever seen of Patrick Bet David. This segment from him is so bad. I mean, I think he should just take a hiatus for a second and just reevaluate. That's how bad it is. It's been a roller coaster ride. I thought his election coverage was excellent. He had Candace Owens and Comic Dave Smith and others, and I did some reacts. It was really fun, and he had it in this big, warehouse room. He has an airport and all that. He has a lot of money, and it was great. It was great coverage. And then now we're here where his takes are just he has people on his show, but notice the people he doesn't have on his show. He doesn't have Jake Shields on his show. He doesn't have Young Nick. He doesn't have people who, and Jake Shields not even the most articulate on it. No diss to him, but he's just really he did have Dan Blazarian on, but you need somebody more in that Young Nick realm to be able to articulate this in the best manner. And he doesn't do that. Recently, he was on with TPUSA, and he said, somebody asked him, well, why won't you have Young Nick on your show? Or would you consider it? Respectfully asked him that. He said, because he uses the N-word. Huh? What? So are you a leftist now? Who cares? He uses the N-word. And what am I? I'm a grown-ass man. I'm afraid of a word? What are you? I was going to say something I shouldn't say. Elon Musk did come to United States as an international student, but he transitioned to working on an H-1B visa. He was born in South Africa. So yes, he's biased on this topic. And no, I mean, I have an Occupies Mars sweater that I used to wear. I rock Tesla. I do a lot with Tesla. I've always liked SpaceX. This is disappointing to see somebody like Elon this bad. And I will say it, I hate to say it, I've called Tesla the greatest American company of all time. I would be perfectly happy if Elon Musk never had come here. He doesn't believe in the Bill of Rights. Look what's happening on X right now. As I record this on January 5th, he just replied to Young Nick. Let me show you what happened here on X, and then I'm going to finish on that 1% argument. It's right in with the 1% argument, so I'm not off on a tangent here. Literally minutes as I'm recording this. This post from Young Nick is 2 days old. Elon Musk replied to it just literally, if I scroll down, you'll see it was about 16 minutes ago. So let's go through it. Young Nick says, Elon should keep his original promise to uphold free speech and transparency on X. These arbitrary decisions on algorithm and verification are totally contrary to that. Nothing, is there anything controversial on that tweet? What do you want? Very respectful. It's too respectful to Elon Musk. He should be ridiculed and mocked and really disavowed at this point. If you did initially vow him, and I did, I completely disavow that bro at this point. After that, I forgot I had replied about 17 hours ago. Once you start charging $8 for a speech boost, it's over. That was the first sign. Elon Musk 16 minutes ago says, smack my face. That's your response? Smack my face is a response to asking you to uphold free speech? Here's my point. My point is, even if you say the H-1B visas are only for the top 1%, I have a company, I have Perplexity AI, I have OpenAI, I have Gemini, I have Google, I have YouTube, I have all these, there's a ton of countries or companies. I have this company, and this Patel dude, this Vivek Ramaswamy dude, this Pajit dude, he's the best one for the job. That's why I'm doing the H-1B visa. You can't find an American that can do what he can do. Really? How do you know that? How do you know you can't find an American to do what he could do? Number one, it's just arbitrarily guessing. Even if they have a track record of performing, it's obviously not in America. It's not obviously not with an American company. When we talk about open markets and free markets, you have to define what market means. If you want to be a globalist, be a globalist. But when I say market, I mean America, a free market in America. I can't control what they do in China. Why would I say I'm an American? I'm for free market. I'm for a free market system. But China, you have to be for one too. I am not Anakin Skywalker, who says, I can rule the galaxy and turns into Darth Vader. I'm talking about America, the special country. So when I say free market, that means America. Once you start bringing in Patels and all of the rest, that's not a free market anymore. That's rigging the game. He talks about, let's go back to the NBA and we'll end with this. Patrick Bet-David was talking about the NBA. And said, we bring in the NBA brings in these Europeans. They bring in the best. Luka Doncic and Giannis and Dirk Nowitzki. Yeah, those are the best. We bring those in. We've also seen them bring in Darko Milicic too. Darko Milicic, if you don't know, was drafted in 2003, number 2 by the Detroit Pistons. I remember that very well because I was living in Detroit at the time. Who was he drafted over? Carmelo Anthony, Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade, Americans. Andrea Bargnani, remember him, the real tall guy? He wasn't a bad player, but he was drafted number 1. He wasn't better than LaMarcus Aldridge. He wasn't better than Brandon Roy. He wasn't better than Rajon Rondo and many other players. The list goes on and on. So we have, how do you know that they're the best? Number 1, there's so many problems. Number 2, you keep going to the 1% for the best, then that doesn't give the business incentive. Maybe if you say no H-1B visa at all, your business will do more to invest in America to get better talent or to find the best talent in America. So you don't know who's the best. It gives you an excuse not to invest in America to find the best. It is not an open market when you start bringing these others in. And now you're bringing people in that don't believe in the Bill of Rights. Elon Musk is a perfect example. He is an example of an H-1B visa. He becomes the richest man in the world outside of the bankers. And he doesn't believe in the Bill of Rights. He says, this is a quote from Elon Musk, you have freedom of speech, but not reach. Makes no sense. So you lose what it means to be an American, giving these jobs to the most powerful people in aspects like AI and self-driving cars and spaceships, all these type of things. If I'm off base, let me know. I've been chatting with a lot of people. Nobody has convinced me otherwise at this point.
The next clip is ready below. Welcome to After Show Carnage.